Hello everyone and welcome to today's tidbit. Today we're drawing our question from Psalm 8, and the question is this. Have you ever stopped to think about God? Have you ever stopped to think about God? And perhaps a silly question, but I genuinely want to know. Putting aside all the theories of theological proper for a moment, ignoring the technicalities of the creation narrative, and putting aside historical context and just thought about God. Have you ever sat in a still, silent summer night and stared at the night sky, and with the distractions of life and all the lights of the city far off, pondered the nature of God? I hope you have. We may come back and put on our theologian hat, and we will step back into the world of historical, grammatical context and cultural analysis, but for those brief moments, we can stare at the heavens and with an unadulterated innocence contemplate the mysteries of God's nature. Now we will likely walk away from the field or forest no more intellectually informed regarding the nature of God or the universe, and yet we can't help but feel that we have opened our minds to see what previously we could not. And all you can do is worship the one who created it. Lord, O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Have you ever stopped to think about God? Growing up, my family went to Minnesota every year, nearly every year. And in all the years I remember, there was one event specifically. It was waking up well before the sun. My best friend and I took the boat out for some early fishing. I had never seen the water so still. The sun crested over the pines, and with the silence broken only by the song of the loons. And it was in one of those moments when you put down your fishing pole and consider the works that God had done. And you take a breath, and you say a prayer in worship, knowing our God is so great that even if I don't worship him, the loons will, because nature cries out the glory of God. And with the coming of night, the reminder of God's consistency abound. The same sun that crested in the trees in the morning disappears over the western horizon and gives way to the near endless expanse of the glorious heavens. The massive power of God being revealed in the twinkling lights of the countless stars that are so massive in nature, yet seem so small in perspective. God is big. And so how is it that God, in the vastness of burning lights of the universe, and an even greater void that fills the space in between them, that God has the mind to know me, and yet he does? O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. And when I look at the heavens, your work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place. Have you ever stopped to think about God? Now, I don't go to Minnesota as often anymore, but I did go a couple years ago, and my sister and brother-in-law, they brought their 1-year-old baby with us, a beautiful baby girl, who in and of herself is a testament to the greatness of God, and even in the fertility of her youth, even in her vulnerability and ignorance, God's power is displayed, for he understands her pure call of worship. Her admittance of dependence, a reminder of our need for God, and the love of her parents, a reminder of God's provision for us. That little girl, made in the image of God, can shut the mouths of the doubters. Because of her weakness, in her weakness, God is declared strong. O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. From the mouths of babies and infants, you have established strength because of your foes. You still the enemy and the avenger. Have you ever stopped to think about God? It gets cold in Nebraska. I guess it comes with the territory. It's part of the game. Sitting in a ditch in sub-zero temperatures with the moisture from your breath freezing on your face mask. It'd be hard to imagine this is something that a man would do by choice, but nonetheless, people like me do it. And why? Because it's quiet. In this solitude, I can consider how small I am. In this field, on this patch of land, in this game preserve, in Johnson County, in Nebraska, in America, in the world, in the solar system, in the Milky Way, and in the universe, I sit alone, waiting for a deer. And the God responsible for speaking the words that created it all knows exactly what I am doing. And not only does he know, he cares. And a deer approaches. I aim my rifle and pull the trigger, and I think to myself, what power has God given us over creation? It is no small matter to give someone dominion over something you have created, and yet God entrusted us with the responsibility of this place. Of all the creation of the world, God has given us dominion over them all. To create, to destroy, to preserve, to conserve, and restore. All of this has been given freely to us. You have given dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet, all the sheep and the oxen and the beasts of the field, the birds of the heaven and the fish of the sea. Let me ask you, have you ever stopped to think about God? As important as our books and our theology and our context and our culture are to keeping us from heresy, we must ask ourselves, is there more? Have you escaped the world we're forced to live in, and in the silence of a summer night? Have you seen the sun crest over the pines in the east, reflecting on the glassy water below as it travels to the west, revealing everything that God has created, and thought about God? Have you ever held a baby girl in your arms and felt her breath and listened to her speak in an incomprehensible language, knowing that though we don't understand her, God hears her praise and worship to him? And in those moments, have you thought about God? Have you sat in the stillness of a frigid winter morning, with your breath freezing as it leaves your mouth, waiting for a deer to walk by, and in that moment thought about God? I have. And this is what I have learned. God is big, and we are small, but we are special. Lord, O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set the glory above your heavens. Through the praise of children and infants, you have established strongholds against your enemies, to silence the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you would care for them. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. You have made them rulers over the works of your hands and put everything under their feet. All the flocks and herds and animals of the wild and the birds in the sky and the flesh of the sea. All that swim in the paths of the sea. Lord, O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth.